Hey friends, welcome back. Welcome to another edition of the I'm Very Sorry for Not Making Enough Podcasts for You Guys podcast. That's the new name because I think it's very concise and it really covers what I mostly talk about on this podcast. And what I do is I just talk about how many podcasts I've not made for you guys and how many I could have made and how bad of a podcaster, YouTuber guy I am. So sorry about that. But I'm making one right now, and I appreciate you guys for stopping by. That's really nice of you. You guys never cease to surprise me on how nice you guys are and how forgiving you are for me not making enough podcasts for you guys podcasts. So, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. You guys are the best. Love you very much. Coming back at you with one today, though. I want to be your guys' number one content cannon. I want to blast content all over your faces and down the back of your throats all the time. But sometimes I just feel like the most unfunny piece of shit on the entire planet. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it happens when I take a hiatus. They're mostly unintentional hiatuses, just shit gets in the way. Hiatuses, I don't know. But this most recent one, I haven't posted in a month, which is a shame, but that's why it's called the I'm Sorry I Haven't Made Enough Podcasts for You Guys podcast. So, yeah, I wasn't posting a lot because the end of the semester was coming and it was final season, and I had 2 final exams, but because of my major, I'm just writing papers fucking constantly. I don't know how many times I've talked about this. It's probably getting annoying, but that's what I have to talk about. That's the podcast. All I do is give you guys excuses for how many podcasts I've not made because I'm not a good YouTuber, I'm a bad podcaster, and I'm not making enough podcasts for you guys podcasts. So, I get stressed out and I can't focus or be funny or anything, and I just have to do my shitty 40-page fucking papers, and the semester ended on just a mental breakdown. I turned in a paper that didn't reach the word limit and didn't have a cogent thought in it whatsoever. I just turned it in and spent the rest of the 2 days before I had to fly back to Chicago getting drunk with my friends because I hadn't seen them for a while. And I meant to do a podcast in that time, but it just wasn't happening. I needed to recover from being so damn stressed out. And then I went to Chicago, and I was I don't want to not upload a podcast all the way until I get back home, which is 13 days, or get back to Colorado, because people will get mad at me. I don't want people to be mad at me. I want to be entertaining. I want the internet friends to have something to listen to. But once I got to Chicago, all of my worries just went away, and I forgot about YouTube and everything, and I was just opening presents, and I had family parties to go to every day, which is a lot of work. I could have managed to record something. I did think about it, but I didn't have any gear with me. I just had my phone, and I just didn't want to deal with it. But here I am, guys. I'm back with another I'm Sorry for Not Making Enough Podcasts for You Guys podcast. And thanks for having me. You guys are the shit. I love you. Let's get into it. I think I'm going to make up for all of my absences with this episode with a subject that people have been asking me to talk about for a very long time, and it's a little bit of a treat, but it's not the most comfortable subject in the world for me to speak on, because it's been a long journey, and it's caused a lot of fucking trouble in my life. Not too much, not as much as other people, but I'll try and do my best to give you guys the full scope of everything. And that subject is drugs. That's a pretty general way to state it, but I've got plenty of experience, I think, because of, as much as I can with my age. I'm 23 now, as of December 28th. So, yeah, it started early. Let's see if I have anything to talk about first before we get into that. No, I'll just jump in. Paul is not here today, but shout out Paul. Hi, Paul. Love you, Paul. He mentioned that we should start streaming some video games, and we're thinking about doing that very soon. We were playing Super Mario Strikers, and it was very fun. It's the soccer game, Mario soccer game from probably 7 years back, something like that. Maybe less, but maybe more. I don't know. But we were playing that, and I was getting kind of rowdy and angry, and he said it was funny, and I thought it was funny too, so we might stream that for you guys. And when and if we do that, that will be on Twitch, likely. or here. But just in case, all my Twitch link is in the description of this video, along with all my other social media shit. So enjoy that if you want to. Okay, so let's get right into it, shall we? After 5 minutes of me rambling about me not making enough podcasts for you guys podcast. So, drugs. I've done a lot of drugs. Some people don't do any drugs. Some people do too many drugs until they die from it. And I'm kind of caught right in the middle of those two. I never died. I don't know if I've ever been close. I feel like there have been times where I woke up in the morning and said to myself I'm lucky to still be alive. But yeah, I never dealt with any overdoses on anything. I was certainly addicted to drugs on many, many different occasions. I've been through withdrawals, more times than I care to recount, but on all kinds of different substances and whatnot. But yeah, maybe that's why I talk so slow and I can't remember my trains of thought or anything. I get derailed all the time. But alas, that's the fucking way it is, and I wouldn't take it back for anything. But yeah, I guess before we get into any actual personal stories, I got a couple disclaimers. Of course, and this is very, very true, I really think that the happiest, healthiest, most worthwhile life to live is not an entirely sober one, but you shouldn't be dependent on anything in life, Dependence takes away the fun from things. Experimentation is great. That's what life's all about. It's all about new experiences. And if you're never going to smoke a cigarette in your life, you're never going to have a beer, you're never going to just enjoy some of the finest pleasures in life, if you're going to cut yourself off from that just because it's dangerous if you take in too much or if you can't control yourself, then I don't know, I feel like you're missing out on a lot of what life has to offer. And hashtag YOLO. So shoot up heroin, guys. Just kidding. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say exactly how I feel about it, but as far as the disclaimer goes, don't take any of the words that I say as reason for you to go out and do drugs, because I don't think you should do that. It's more trouble than it's worth in almost all cases. A supplement to that, I kind of take these class of drugs outside of the stereotypical phrase and title of drugs. Hallucinogens, I think, are a very effective means in a lot of situations, not for everybody, for enhancing the areas of self-fulfillment and happiness in life just based on how they work and the experiences that can be had based on their use. And I wouldn't recommend them to everybody, but I do think they fall outside of the class. Not legally, of course, not in the United States, because we're a fucking backwards 1950s nation. But, yeah, just be safe, be sensible, don't do too much, have a friend around, talk to people if you have issues. Don't do bad drugs, don't do the hard ones, don't do meth or crack or heroin or pretty much all opioids. I recommend you stay away from opioid class drugs, from the pharmaceuticals to the natural stuff like opium. Sure, it feels great, feels like you're wrapped up inside of God's pussy in a fetal position, but yeah, don't do it. It's not worth it. You'll get very addicted very quick, and the withdrawals are not fun. So yeah, we'll finish up the disclaimer. Don't do drugs. It's not good for you. But if you want to, go ahead. Okay, so moving on. Don't do drugs. So my stance on drugs, I kind of gave a little bit of it there. That's pretty much the only aspect of libertarianism on the political spectrum that I agree with. I think you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want with your body, so long as you do it in the privacy of your own home and you're not harming anybody else when you do it. I look at it in the same way as you're allowed to shove gigantic rubber fake horse cocks up your ass in the privacy of your own home with a friend or without, as long as they're okay with it. And I think you're totally legally allowed to do that. That's fine. And you know what? You can rupture your asshole and bleed to death, and it's very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. I take the same fucking stance with drugs. You should be able to, in my mind, of course you can't, because almost everywhere in the world you can't do that, but there's a few nations that are pretty lax about these sort of things, decriminalize drugs. But just as you can shove giant horse cocks up your ass, fake horse cocks, I mean, you should be able to fucking stick needles in your arm and do whatever you want, whatever helps you cope with this fucking existence, as long as you're not hurting anybody else. I believe that if all drugs, and I know that's a controversial standpoint, I truly believe that if all drugs were not just decriminalized, but legalized, regulated, and taxed, we could use that tax money to educate the youth and adult people of the nation that we would live in on the dangers of drugs and what they have potential to do, the good and the bad. And I really do feel that use would not spike. It would go down, if anything, or stay the same. And also, on that note, I'm saying all of this with no research whatsoever, and I'm not an expert. So, yeah, I'm an idiot. But I don't know, that's just the way that I think things would work if we stopped putting black people and Latinos in jail for things that white people get away with on an everyday basis. If I got caught, I had a joke a little while back that, like, if I got caught with every drug that I've ever had in my pocket or in my body, I would do, like, many, 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 many life sentences. But then when I was rethinking it, I was like, oh, wait, no, probably not, because I'm white. And everything would be fine, and they'd be like, all right, go ahead, go on your way, little boy, slap me on the wrist and go, don't do it again. And then when I get caught again, I have a problem. I'm not a criminal. But when it happens to minority groups as in black and Latino people, because Asians, I mean, they don't get persecuted nearly as much in the legal realm as those other two groups do. But, yeah, it's bad. We gotta fix that up. But, I mean, jail doesn't help people. You gotta rehabilitate. Jail is not rehabilitation. It's punishment for something that shouldn't be a crime if you're not harming anybody else. Of course, if you carry a gun around with you and your drugs make you shoot somebody with your gun, they drive you crazy or something like that, maybe that's something that should be punishable by prison time or something like that. Teach you a lesson for acting irresponsibly because you hurt somebody else. But if you're just fucking around, making a mess of your own body, that should be all right. So, that's my stance. I don't know if anything I said there made sense, but I'm going to continue. Got a few things. I guess I'll just go through my experiences from the beginning. I hope that I cover everything properly because it's a long story. And I guess one day I'll probably make a more, like, coherent, scripted version of this, so you guys can get a more clear idea of what I've actually been through and my actual stories and everything. I'm writing a book that's kind of on this subject too, but I don't think I have enough stories to write a book. It's kind of like semi-fictional. But let's start this thing off. So, drugs. When did I begin? So, everybody starts, not everybody, but I started with marijuana, which is not a good thing to say because that makes it sound like a gateway drug, but I really don't believe that was what led me to heavier stuff. There was a nice gap between when I stopped smoking and when I found other drugs. But so it was like, I believe it was my 8th grade summer when I first started smoking weed. I had a older brother, 2 years older than me. I have an older brother. He's still around. Been through a lot of similar shit to me, and he's totally fine. Successful working member of society, homeowner at 25 years old. Great dude. Very nice person. Woo! Sorry about that. That needed to come up. So he was 2 years older than me, and that would make him like 14 or 15 at the time, and he had weed. So I was going from middle school to high school, and during that summer, I was hanging out with his friends because I was going to be a new high schooler, and they all had weed, and they said, hey, do you want to smoke weed? And I said, maybe not. I think they offered it when I was like 7th grade summer, but I just didn't. I wasn't interested. And then when 8th grade summer came around, I said, yeah, let's do that. So we'd just smoke weed all the time. I would like clam bake my dad's van. We'd smoke weed in the backyard. Then my mom would come home and ask me to like do the dishes or something, and I'd be on another planet. And yeah, and never harmed anybody. I don't think it did any sort of cognitive damage to me whatsoever. I mean, I feel just as smart as I did when I was 13. So, yeah, that's probably not the best age to start because you're going through a lot of developmental stages at that point in your life. But, yeah, nobody has any control over that when they're 13 years old. You don't know better than to go around smoking weed, even if you took health classes, everything like that. I don't know, we should teach kids to be safe. But I was very safe. My parents always taught me to be safe. They were pretty much of the ideology that they subscribed to the ideology rather that if you're gonna do anything, just make sure you do it at home where it's safe. And yeah, I never got punished for anything. Then again, I don't think they ever really knew much about this. They know my entire story that I've gone through, but yeah, apparently I was really good at being high and not letting anybody know it. So you guys might be able to see that in my old Minecraft videos when I was very, very stoned. Yeah. Alright, let's continue. What are we going on? Okay, so let's talk about weed a little bit more. So smoking weed continued for a nice while, but so I got a lot out of it when I was younger, and nowadays I really thoroughly dislike it. Like nowadays, it just makes me way too anxious. I live in a state where it's totally legal recreationally, and I'm over 21. I can smoke weed whenever I want, and still, every time I do, I think that the cops are going to kick down the door and beat me up, and I'm going to die, and everything, my heart's going to explode, and I just get so anxious, and I have no idea why. It affects everybody differently, so I don't do it now. But back then, when I had so fewer worries in the world, I would just smoke weed and everything tasted better and jerking off felt better and everything was great. It helped me sleep better. Stop bouncing off the walls so much. So it was great for when I was 13. I mean, maybe the most appropriate medication there is, better than pharmaceuticals if you have some 13-year-old issues like, I don't know, can't get to sleep at night, or too much energy. It might be good for it, who knows. But don't recommend it. We'll let the doctors find out. We'll let the doctors keep studying and see what they come up with. But, yeah, it continued for a while. I was on and off smoking weed. I think like around 15 or 16 was when I totally stopped, like just had no interest in it anymore. Every now and again I would smoke, and every single time I would regret it because I'd just get very anxious and paranoid. And so yeah, it's just on and off between 13 and maybe 18 years old. On and off, maybe 17. The next thing that came into, I didn't start drinking until, I think my dad bought me my first 6-pack when I was like 17 years old, something like that. I just had no interest in it up until that point, because I just saw how stupid it made people. I saw mostly my brother would get really shit-faced and make some poor decisions, and when he was too young to be doing it, in my eyes, I guess. So I didn't want to end up like that. I didn't want to make the same mistakes that he made. But we all make mistakes. I'm not passing judgment. Yeah, that was just what really prevented me from drinking for so long. I know a lot of people start drinking early, and that is definitely a harmful thing to do to your body when you're very young. But body and mind, I mean. So before drinking, I got introduced to recreational pharmaceuticals. I believe I was 14. I was in a class with one of my friends who was like in the stoner group of kids that I was hanging around with. And we were in like doing some in-class group project, and he like whispered to me, and I scooched my desk closer to him, and he handed me something under the table. He put a pill in my hand. And I said, "What is it?" And he just said, "Try it, you'll like it." So I did, naturally, obviously. I trusted my new friend. I was So I just lost a whole bunch of weight, and I was finally like 75 pounds, and I was finally like gaining some confidence and talking to people. And this was like one of my first high school friends that I just met through smoking weed. Obviously, we were the stoner kids, so I had stoner friends. Everybody who had weed was your friend if you were a stoner. So he passed me a pill under my desk, and it was an ADHD medication. I didn't know what it was at the time. He just said it would make me feel good, and it would make me less tired. I think I mentioned being tired or something. So I said, okay, and I threw it down my head and waited. And then when the class got out, I was walking with him. I think like the day was over, like 3 o'clock, something like that. And it kicked in, and I felt like I was walking on sunshine. I was Jesus Christ incarnate, walking on water, healing babies, healing lepers and everything. Super confident, just hyper alert and interested in everything, talking to everybody, giving high fives, just feeling good. It was, I believe it's Concerta, or maybe, I don't know, is that like a boner medication? I don't know what it is, but it was an ADHD medication, like an instant release pill. And it was fucking great. And so I was 14 at that time, and of course I was up all night. So I wake up for school the next day, and naturally the first thing I do is go talk to that friend, because I couldn't let an experience like that be a one-night stand, and I wanted to know more about what it was. I did some Googling the night before, and I found out a little bit. But yeah, I talked to him more about it. And I got like a couple more from him, and it was free, and it was great. And I didn't get addicted to it at that point. Even as young as I was, even as big as the dopamine rush was, I did it a few times. It was fun. Then I went back to my normal stoner ways, playing Minecraft and jerking off and eating Chinese food and stuff. So a little bit of time goes by. I continue smoking weed. And then around like 15-ish was when I got super into amphetamines, ADHD medications. And of course, back in this time, I think still now, every kid in high school is on ADHD medications. That's one of those neurological conditions that I really think is like 90% bullshit. Of course, there are many, many cases where amphetamines are a logical treatment and they help a lot of people, but it has gotta be, along with panic disorder, the most overprescribed medication, like Xanax and ADHD medications. I think they've gotta be the most overprescribed, because they're absolutely everywhere, and there's no chance that as many people that do take them actually need them to function in life. There are other ways to deal with these things, but I don't mean to discredit the people that really do need them. I don't know, it's a difficult situation to handle. It's just, kids shouldn't be taking it. Yeah, but everybody had it. Fucking everybody. So, as I was not fat anymore, and I was starting to become confident, I started to know more people, and the more people that I knew, the more drugs I was able to get my hands on. And then, spiraling with that, the more drugs I took, the more amphetamines that I took, the friendlier I was, and the more people I would get to know, and then I would get even more drugs. And since I was so friendly and nice and all buzzing on amphetamines, I would be able to get these drugs for free, because people thought I was nice and fun and cool, and I'd go to their house, and then we would all take drugs together, and that was fun. So, at this time, too, I'd already started playing piano, if that's interesting to anybody. That was like when I was right when I started smoking weed. I just like had a kind of a little bit of an identity crisis, and I needed something different in my life. I needed something that I could improve at gradually, and I wanted to pick up an instrument. My uncle gave me this nicotine-stained fucking garbage keyboard with broken keys. Started playing it every day, every single day, and I think weed helps a lot with that. It helps you see yourself from an outside, third-person perspective and see the things that you're doing wrong in your own life. But you don't need perpetual, habitual use to figure these things out. Just a couple times, get an outside perspective. But, yeah. Play piano. It's great. And then amphetamines helped with that, too, because then I could practice for like 12 hours straight and not get tired. But that went on for a nice while, and since kids had no idea what they had, how much those drugs were worth, they would just give them to me like for nothing, just dog shit, like fucking 50 cents a pill. In college, they're worth like $15 a pill. So, especially during final season, people walk around in the library and shake a little pill bottle, apparently. I haven't heard it, but I've heard people telling that story. But, yeah, amphetamines are fantastic if you got something you need to get done and you need that rush of energy and you need to get motivated for something you absolutely do not want to do. I think that they're entirely appropriate, and they're less addictive than a lot of other drugs. Less physically addictive, I mean. They're psychologically addictive, of course, because they make you feel like Jesus Christ, reincarnate. But, yeah, that happened for a nice long while. I'm not going to go into present day or future, just for all intents and purposes today. I'm going to say that for all entities watching this, for anybody listening in, of course, I do not do drugs anymore of any kind. Never, ever, ever. Because they're bad for you, and I never do them. So don't worry, Mr. Federal Agent or somebody else or future employer thinking about not hiring me. Promise, I don't do drugs anymore. I'm a responsible citizen of the United States of America, and I love to work. I love to contribute to the capitalist machine with my money. So please hire me. I'd love to work for you. But so yeah, that continued for a nice while. We'll just say up until the present. Like today, I stopped. Okay. Yeah, I was never super addicted to any of that stuff. I never went through withdrawals from amphetamines. I've talked to people who have gone through amphetamine withdrawals, and they say that it's nothing really significant. I mean, you feel exhausted, I'm sure, is what I've heard, because you're so used to being sped up on this drug all day long, and then the day that you don't have it, you're just a slug. So I've heard like headaches and weird tactile sensations, like feel like you're wrapped up in spider webs and stuff like that. But yeah. So I never went through any of that because I was very careful about my use, especially early on, because I never wanted to be addicted to anything. So I would like make sure that I would separate doses between like 3-4 days each time. Yeah, 2 days in a row happened very rarely unless I had something really, really important to get done. So, time went on. High school was great. I was meeting a whole bunch of new people. Everything was fine. I was getting good grades. That's great. And this is like sophomore year. Junior year came around, and then that's when I got introduced to drugs like Xanax and Valium and benzodiazepines of different types. So I guess I should be more clear about the amphetamines. I did not take them habitually. It was now and again, on and off. Sometimes for a month I wouldn't take them, and then sometimes I would take them fucking 5 times a week. Who knows? It was very, very, there's many variants to my my usage patterns. But, so if I remember correctly, I wasn't taking it for a while. I don't know. I just like went back to smoking weed or something. And I don't know if I can attribute this to drug use or to the time that I was living in, or like my situations, my circumstances in high school, or what it was, but I was dealing with a lot of anxiety at the time, as so many people do in high school. It's an anxious time. You feel like everybody's staring at you all the time. Just feel like you're being judged. There's a lot of pressure from school, making sure you perform, taking tests, taking standardized tests to get in the right college. So it's a difficult time for kids, and I was dealing with a lot of anxiety, and the drugs that I was using currently were not enough for me to cope with this anxiety. And my only coping mechanisms at the time for stressful situations the only coping mechanisms I knew about were drugs. So, and piano was forming to be one of those. So I turned to drugs. I heard from people that benzodiazepines, of course, they didn't use those, the technical pharmaceutical term. They used the brand names like Xanax and Valium and those sort of things. But I got very interested in Xanax and Valium, and because everybody was on them, In high school, much fewer people were on them, but there were the kids that would get prescribed so many of them by their doctor that they didn't even need. They said they didn't even take them. Um, and then I would buy them from those kids once again for next to nothing because they didn't know what they had. So that is when my first like physical addiction started to happen. Was with different benzodiazepines. I started taking them nearly every day. And I was falling asleep in class, and it wasn't good. It was, it was turning me into a fucking loser slug, and I couldn't function on them. I was taking way too many of them for a reason that did not merit the amount that I was taking. And, just whatever I could get my hands on, it would take. I still showed up for my exams. I still showed up for all my classes. I still fucking got straight A's, but it wasn't good for me, and I'm missing some chunks of time from my high school career that I absolutely cannot recall because I was on a lot of drugs at that time. This happened like early junior year. I found out about them probably late sophomore year, sophomore summer or something, and then junior year of high school is when I got very into them. I was taking them every day, and yeah, there I had very easy access to them. And I remember, I was taking them for a very long time. Not very long, maybe like 9 months, 10 months, something like that. And I decided that I wanted to get off of them because they were making me sluggish and slow and I wasn't remembering things. So the withdrawals were absolutely terrible. Benzodiazepine withdrawals are the worst that I've ever been through, and I would not wish them on my worst enemy. So the worst part is probably the extreme paranoia that goes through your mind. Like, I would be tossing and turning and sweating in my bed all night. I didn't sleep for days and days and days, and I thought my family was going to kick down the door and murder me in the middle of the night, and just absolute paranoid delusions. Think that I'm dying every moment. Not fun. So addiction to benzodiazepines happens at a much slower rate than certain other drugs, because they don't give much, if any, dopamine release in the brain. So you're not getting like that, ooh, nice rush, good feeling. They just make you feel very mellow and go with the flow and everything's okay no matter what's going on. So that is the psychological addiction. But physical addiction, I feel like it develops more slowly than other drugs, but once they do have a hold on you, the withdrawal symptoms, physical withdrawal symptoms, are absolutely brutal. Same with the psychological ones. And because the half-life of these drugs is so extensive, like Valium's half-life, if I remember right, is like 24 to 36 hours. I don't know. I'm not an expert. Once again, I don't have a book in front of me or anything. But, because their half-life is so long, the withdrawal symptoms last much longer, and I'm pretty sure that's how it goes with most psychoactive substances that can produce withdrawal symptoms. The longer the half-life of the drug, the longer it lasts, the longer your withdrawal symptoms will last. So, with Valium, it was like 14 days of absolute hell on earth, like vomiting and, not fun at all. So I got off of them, but I didn't get entirely off of them. I would still take them now and again. This is like early senior year when this all happened. But it went from an everyday serious addiction to every now and again I'd take them, because I was still not done doing drugs. Not done by a long shot. And then we get into the next section of this story, which is opioid drugs. They were, and I can't say remain today, but they were my favorite class of drugs at the time. They just make you feel fantastic. I think I said earlier, being wrapped up in God's pussy in the fetal position, that's kind of what it feels like. Just radiating warmth from your stomach right when they kick in. If you eat them, you can snort them too, or inject them, or anything like that. Certain ones, of course. Pills are not good to inject because they have coagulants in them and stuff, and I never messed with needles. I didn't have any interest in doing that, but just so everybody knows, I didn't want to well, if I ever did use needles, which I didn't, I would never share them, so I would never be at risk for like any kind of diseases like HIV and that sort of thing. But yeah, I mainly took pills and like sometimes snorted them, and that was about it. I've put them on my butt too. We'll do that. We'll talk about that at a different time. So opioid drugs. Lots of codeine, hydrocodone, morphine, oxycodone, fentanyl was big. And so I lived in the Chicago suburbs, so right outside of one of the United States' biggest trade hubs for drugs. And drug dealers know that there's a lot of little rich white kids in the suburbs, so the drugs definitely make their way out there. And I would find them that way, but more often than through drug dealers, I would find drugs through kids in my town and in neighboring towns that would steal them from sick relatives, which is absolutely shameful, but I needed my drugs, and I needed them cheap because I was working on a salary, a YouTuber salary, and a grocery store bagger salary. So, yeah. Wait, let me gather my thoughts. This has been a lot very quick. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I hope it's interesting to you. I'm just talking. Here, I'm going to pause and gather my thoughts real quick. Okay, so, this was not the moment that I was first introduced to opioids. I had them before. I mean, like, even late sophomore year, I, like, got my wisdom teeth removed, and I had, hydrocodone then. And I would call my doctor and go, my teeth still hurt. Can I have some more, please? And they'd go, yeah, sure. You're a little white kid. We trust you. And they'd send more to the pharmacy, and I would go pick those up. And then I'd call again and go, my teeth still hurt, but these aren't doing a good enough job. Can I have some more? And they go, I guess so, but you gotta be careful. Here you go. And they give me more, and then I'd call back another time. And they go, if they're still hurting, if your teeth still hurt, you probably have an infection. So we're gonna schedule you another visit to come in. So I said, no, that's okay. It doesn't hurt that bad. I think it's fine. And then I hung up. So that's how everything got started. I did that, and that was fun, and then I kind of forgot about them. But then, junior year came around, and they would float in and out of my life. Opioids would come in. Somebody had some drugs. We would do those. And then my love for them got very serious. We got a very serious relationship. We started going steady. We were mutually exclusive in early senior year, probably like right at the beginning. So, yeah, I did a lot of them. A lot of drugs. I was always very moderate with my dosages. I never put myself in danger with opioids because I knew how dangerous they were, and I knew everything. I did a lot of reading, like pharmacy books and stuff. I know all about respiratory depression and all that kind of thing, and choking on your own vomit, whatever they call that in the medical field. But so I never really put myself at risk for any sort of danger in that realm. As far as I understand, opioids as chemicals are not neurotoxic. They don't do any like bodily harm. They don't ruin your You see people that smoke meth and like their skin is all tight and their teeth fall out and all that sort of stuff. That, as far as I understand, I could be totally wrong. As far as I understand, that doesn't happen with pure opioids. When you're getting heroin is almost always cut with some other shit. It gets stepped on many times before it gets to your hands, unless you're a big player in the game, in the trade. So, and it gets cut with things you would never want to put in your body. And from what I understand, once again, I'm no expert on this sort of thing, and maybe I know a little bit more than a few people, but it's that shit that it's cut with that ends up doing bodily harm to you and causing issues, cognitive issues. And it might be the same way with methamphetamine too. Yeah, I don't know. But with as far as I understand, opioids are relatively safe in the way. Okay, I don't want to generalize. They're safe in that they don't do cognitive harm, and they're not gonna make your body fail on you or anything unless they kill you. When you get to that point, when you take so much that you pass out and start vomiting from the stomach upset, and then you're on your back so you can't cough it up and you choke on your own vomit. I know there's a technical term for that, but I can't remember. That's a big thing that kills people. Another thing with opioids is respiratory depression, when you take too much and your body, your central nervous system, no longer, you don't maintain homeostasis is the term, I think, where you just stop breathing. Your heart rate and your breathing rate slow down so much that you just stop breathing and you die. So it has such a strong effect on your central nervous system that your breathing just stops, and that's another way that people die. I think that's the most common route of overdose, and that happens a lot of times when people mix opioids and other drugs, or opioids and alcohol. So, but I was always very careful. I didn't mix alcohol with any of it. Benzodiazepines and opioids never really crossed paths, maybe a few times. But yeah, I was kind of like a purist, like a one drug, one occasion sort of thing. But I would get very high still, and I wouldn't just get high at nighttime. I would get high from the moment that I woke up in the morning to the moment that I went to bed at night. And sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night and get high again because I wasn't high enough when I was sleeping. So, I would go to school, and I was very functional. Nobody ever knew that I was on all of these drugs or anything. I was just like, when I wasn't on amphetamines, I was relatively quiet, just friendly, going with the flow. I always did really well in school and helped people cheat on tests and stuff. And, I was friends with a lot of people, and nobody ever knew that I had any issues or anything. I guess I was just good at hiding it. And I wouldn't even really consider it an issue. I wasn't a danger to myself, and I was happy at the time, and I wasn't doing any danger, any harm to any relationships that I had. My family didn't even fucking know. I would never, like, spout off and, like, hit people or anything like you hear happens with drugs. I never did any of that. It was all cheap, so I didn't spend all my money. I wasn't starving. Of course, that is something that I'm very lucky with. Lots of people that struggle with addiction end up being broke and living outside, homeless, but I had a wonderful support network. Though they didn't know that I was doing drugs and I was very moderate with my use and everything, I still had a place to stay and a loving family and all of these sort of things. I have a lot of advantages in life. So those are definitely contributors to how little these events in my life affected me negatively. But I did a lot. Lots of fentanyl, which is something that is kind of scary to look back on, because it has killed so many people nowadays, like Prince, Michael Jackson, big musical figures. Fentanyl was one of the main constituents attributed to their death, their overdose death. So, we had, I knew people who had, from my town and neighboring towns, and people coming in from the city and shit. They had, like, grandmas and grandpas and fathers and mothers who had cancer, and they would get prescribed so many drugs that they couldn't keep track of it all, and kids would sneak into the medicine cabinet and take, like, transdermal fentanyl patches, and we'd cut them up and fucking stick them on our balls and walk around school. And lots of time-release morphine, instant-release morphine, lots of oxycodone, lots of hydrocodone, lots of codeine, oxymorphone. I know them all. I know them all well. But yeah, I don't have much of a favorite as far as opioids go. I just liked them all. They were all a whole lot of fun for me, and they kept me nice and mellow and pain-free. And I believe all of this started as a coping mechanism for anxiety. But I mean, I'm happy and healthy today, and everything's fine, and I'm not addicted to anything. So, yeah. I know I've got more to say, especially about opioids. Oh, okay. So a way that I would keep up my habit, because I only had a YouTuber's salary, and this was like early YouTube days. Maybe not so early. You guys, some of you guys were around, I'm sure. I was high all the time, but you probably didn't know. Well, you might have. Who knows? So I had recently quit my job at the grocery store. I was a bagger there because this girl from my high school got promoted before I did, and I was working there like a year and a half more than her, and I'd gotten so many compliments from customers and everything, and everyone complained about her because she sucked, but she knew the manager, and like I'd gotten like employee of the month and stuff multiple times, and because she bugged her manager friend, who was also a lady, they were the only two ladies in the store, she got promoted to being a stocker, and I remained this shithead bag boy that had to go clean up piss from the bathrooms. The women's bathrooms, surprisingly enough, there's just piss and poo-poo everywhere, probably from babies, but oh well. So she got promoted, and I walked into my supervisor, my boss's office on that day, and I said, so she got promoted and I didn't. And then she said, oh, I didn't think you were interested in it. And I said, yeah, I'm not interested in working here anymore either, so see ya. And then she said, well, we're really sorry to see you go. We'd love for you to stay. Do you want to give us 2 weeks notice? Do you want to rethink it? I'm like, no, I was kind of hoping to just never walk in here ever again. And she said, oh, is there a reason for this? What's the reasoning behind you doing this? You and that one girl. So, see ya. Management sucks. See you guys later. And I left, and the store went out of business like 6 months later, something like that. So peace out, motherfuckers. It's now owned by Jewel-Osco, and it's a great store now. Whenever I go back to visit that town, at least. But I was very high the whole time, and the old ladies loved me. And yeah. So okay, back to the story. Okay. So I was making some money from YouTube, and like my parents never gave me allowances or anything. They did well in work, but it was always very unstable. Like they would get an awesome job, and then my dad would get laid off, and then my mom would be doing well, and then she would have to like quit or something. I don't know. They're doing super well now, but I never got an allowance or anything. I never got paid. Like when I know a lot of kids would like get money from their parents when they would bring home a good report card. My parents didn't do that for me. My motivation was just to keep them proud and make my mom not yell at me because I love her. I don't want to make her sad. And so I had enough funding to live my life and not do drugs from YouTube to feed myself and buy burritos and stuff, but I needed drug money. So what I would do is I would kind of aggregate all of these drugs that kids would steal from their sick relatives. I know I'm a scumbag. I'm very well aware of that. But I would buy up all of these things because they didn't know how much they were worth, and I would save half of them for myself. I'd buy them for very cheap, and then I would call people that I knew that lived in shitty areas of the city, and have them drive out to me in the suburbs, and then I would get in their car, and I'd give them the drugs, and they'd give me like a wad of $1,000, $2,000, and then that would just be my budget. And yeah, so that's how I made my money. And I did that for a nice long time, and it kept me nice and high for the duration. And yeah, not proud of it, but that's what happened. What else do I have to say about opioids? Don't do them. They're extremely addictive and very dangerous. Of course, I'm sure everybody or most people listening have heard of the troubles that they're causing, particularly in America right now. The overdose rates are skyrocketing, and it's a terrible shame, and it affects so many families and so many people across the United States and the world, opioid dependency and addiction. And it's a shame that there aren't more resources to help people with this, because it's just a fact of life that this drug exists. You're never going to get rid of it no matter how hard you try. It's a fucking plant that grows in the ground anywhere. That's where it comes from. But yeah, good try, U.S. government and worldwide governments, but you're not going to get rid of it. So please just help people instead of punishing them for doing something that they have almost no control over. Yeah. I quit that shit many times. I'd gone through withdrawals from opioids probably upwards of like 25 times. Sometimes I would just quit after 2 weeks of use. Sometimes I would quit after 9 months of daily use, and this went on for a very long time. Yeah, so it's not fun. Opioids make you very constipated. They slow down your digestive tract, and they like suck water out of the poop in your body. So they make you constipated, and you poop little like rabbit turds, like little cannonballs that are very dense, little poops. So when you get off of them, you immediately get explosive diarrhea, and you cannot control it, and you'll just like shit your pants wherever you are. So there's drugs to maintain that. Loperamide is one. It's an anti-diarrheal medicine. I've bought much of that in my day. There's a lot of ways to cope with it, but yeah. And there's a lot of sweating and shaking, and you won't sleep for days and days and weeks, depending on what kind of drug you're coming off of. Not fun. But benzodiazepine withdrawals, in my situation, I know it's different for everybody, benzodiazepine withdrawals were worse because of the paranoia and that sort of thing. So, those are all the dangerous drugs out of the way, and there is a class of drugs that I left out of this story. But I did partake throughout my high school days and throughout my college days and everything, and that is hallucinogens and dissociatives and that sort of that group. I did a lot of acid in my life, lots and lots. That's number 2 in drugs I've done most. Number 1 is opioids of all kinds. Number 2, probably acid. Maybe under benzodiazepines, but they might be tied. I gotta burp one more time here. Let me pause. So, hallucinogens. Empathogens is, I think, one of them. Empathogens is ecstasy. I hope I'm saying that right. But, so I did a lot of mushrooms, acid, drugs like 2CB and 25I. Not so much those research chemicals, but they were around, and I'm sure I did them accidentally more often than I'd care to say. Ecstasy, there was plenty of that, mostly in crystal form, MDMA, not pills. I fucked with those a few times, but they were like always cut with meth or something like that, so I tried to stray away from those. DXM, dextromethorphan, is cough medicine, that you drink a bunch of that or take a bunch of the little purple pills, and they make you all loopy, and your body disconnects from your brain, and it's pretty cool. I've done lean. Lean, by the way, for everyone listening, lean is purple drank scissorp, whatever you want to call it, is the most overrated drug that exists in the world. It's fucking garbage. So pretty much all it is promethazine, which is a first-generation antihistamine that lasts a really long time, doesn't give you any euphoria, doesn't get you high, just makes like... it's the same class as like Benadryl, doxylamine, succinate, diphenhydramine, those kind of things, antihistamines, allergy medication. It's that, and it makes you really, really drowsy, just makes you sleepy, so you feel like you're high, but you're not. And then it's got minuscule amounts of codeine in it, which is an opioid, which would make you feel warm and nice and cozy and inside of God's vagina and give you a little bit of dopamine release. But the amount of codeine in lean is absolutely overshadowed by the amount of promethazine in it. So by the time you get high enough on codeine to feel anything decent, you're fucking passed out of sleep, dangerously tired, like to the point where you would fall asleep at the wheel sitting up straight if you were driving. Don't ever drive and do drugs, obviously. And getting to the point where if you fucking drink enough of it, you'll kill yourself. You'll stop your breathing. So you're putting yourself in serious danger for pretty much, like, it's a shit ass opioid that has barely any potential to get you high, attached to an antihistamine that makes you really, really tired. So fuck all the rappers out there that rap about doing lean and thinking it's the coolest thing in the world and promoting people to do this stupid fucking dangerous drug for no reason. Yeah, that's dumb. Fuck you, Lil Pump. Fuck you, Wheezy, Lil Wayne. Yeah, don't do it. It's fucking stupid. I don't know who else raps about it, but don't do it. It's dumb. Um, double cup full. Stupid. Okay. Okay, what was I talking about? I was talking about hallucinogens and empathogens and dissociatives. Cough medicine's fun. Don't do it though. It can be very scary for a lot of people. And lots of people take extremely high doses of it. I would never do that. I would take like maybe like there's different plateaus is what they're labeled as. There's threshold dose, which is when you can just start to feel the effects. First plateau, second plateau, third and fourth. Fourth is like just dangerously fucked up. You're not even the same person that you were. Yeah, I'd maybe get like high first at the very most. Just get a loopy. Your body disconnects from your brain. It works kind of in the same way as ketamine or PCP. Dissociatives, that's the class. Don't recommend them. Nothing special. I don't recommend any of this, by the way. But yeah, nothing special. But hallucinogens were something that I spent a lot of time doing, and something that I have a lot of pleasant things to say about. I do attribute me getting off of hard drugs to my time spent doing hallucinogens. More towards acid, because I did more of that than I did mushrooms. I did a lot of them. But nearing the time where I was getting sick of... nearing the time where I was doing the most painkillers that I'd ever done before, I had a few very, very powerful hallucinogenic experiences on LSD, and they gave me a different perspective and allowed me to see what I was doing to myself, and to my wallet, and to people that I knew, people that I loved, that I wasn't spending enough time with or anything, because I was too high, and just let me see outside of myself, and allow me to gain the mental foothold that I needed to make a change in my life. And I like to attribute me getting off of those difficult to wean off of drugs to hallucinogenic experiences, though I'm sure there were different factors at play too, just me getting sick of being high all the fucking time, being sick of being dependent on these things. But first time I did mushrooms, I think I was like between 14 and 15. Yeah, one of my friends had them, took them, it was great. Then I didn't touch hallucinogens for maybe another year or so. More mushrooms. Then I found out about acid. And I've done acid probably... I mean, I don't have an exact count, but I can tell you it's above 125 and less than 200 separate occasions I've done it. I had a very, very easy access to it. So, as the story goes, I'm not sure if this is entirely true, because it came from drug dealers' mouths, but, so I knew people in the town that I was in and surrounding towns who had large amounts of LSD on them, liquid LSD and on paper, blotter, all of that sort of thing. Never microdots, which are like these little gelatin things that you can eat. Never had that. But yeah, lots of blotter and lots of liquid. And I would ask them, of course, like, where does it come from? And I got told the story that some university that I will not name, because that I don't want anybody to get in trouble. And of course, this is all fiction, you guys, just for anybody listening. Everything that I've said in this entire podcast has been a creation of my imagination, and none of this is true whatsoever. So, yeah. Just a story. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry, government agents. It's fine. It's just a story. I'm just messing around. And future employers. This is just a story for the listeners. It's a podcast. It's entertainment. Get over yourself. Okay, so apparently there was a university within North America that had been approved for testing, psychological testing, psychotherapy using LSD. And they were allowed to produce LSD at this university and use it for testing. And the people that I knew, they were mutual friends with a biochemistry graduate student there. And this biochemistry graduate student, I believe it was part of his thesis or something, to participate in this project. And I think he was in charge of ordering the precursors. That's what you use to make the final product, the final drug you're trying to get to, the final chemical. So in that case, in the case of LSD, it's ergot fungus, which is Claviceps purpurea, I believe. It's a Ascomycota fungus that grows on wheat. It's these little purple like nodes that grow out of wheat, and you got to take those, and they're very toxic. And people believe that they are what caused the Salem witch trials, because when you breathe in or take in, when you eat ergot fungus, it has effects similar to LSD, but I mean similar in the sense that you hallucinate, and people would go nuts back in the day when the Salem witch trials happened, and then they would get burned at the stake because people thought they were witches or necromancers or whatnot. So this person apparently ordered purposefully way too much of this ergot fungus from wherever they produce it, maybe China or something where it's less restricted, but they imported more than they would need, of course, for this study by large amounts, because the government has no fucking clue how much you're going to need at this university to produce, and they probably took into account, like, for errors in the chemistry and things, so they just over-ordered, and apparently this student produced a lot of LSD, and a lot of it trickled down to the Chicagoland area, and because I knew people, that said they knew this person at this university. I don't know any of these people anymore. I think one of them got arrested. I don't know. But, so I got to have a bunch of free acid. They didn't make me pay for it, and that's about that. So I would get to take acid all the time, and I would. I would wake up, and when I got in the shower, I would put a hit in my mouth and just suck on that little bitch for a while. And then I would have my brother drive me to school, and then by the time I got to class, I would be in first period study hall, but it was like an open study hall where I could do whatever I want. Oh no, I didn't have that first period when all this was going down, when I got most into it. I had first period gym, so I'd be coming up, playing dodgeball, throwing dodgeballs at people, having a great time, and I'd just ride out the rest of my day at school, tripping nutsack, and nobody knew, I don't think. At least they told me they didn't know whenever I asked, later on in life. So, yeah, that happened a lot. To give a good idea, my senior year winter break was 14 days long, and I took acid 14 of those 14 days. Lots of it. I used to ride my bike around the neighborhood, and I don't know, I've got countless different stories. One that sticks out in particular it was springtime going into summertime, and I took a whole lot of acid, and I was riding my bike around the neighborhood, and the perception change is very profound. It's really difficult to explain, but what happened, I was very, very, very lit up on this stuff, and each of the trees that I would pass by on my left and right side kind of had faces, and they would be talking and doing that sort of thing, and they had all had different backstories, and they'd tell me where they came from and how long they'd been there, and this is a lot of acid, a lot of LSD. And I've got lots of stories like that, but they're kind of boring because they're difficult to explain, because it's like explaining dreams to somebody. It's not interesting. It's only interesting if it happened to you. In my case, at least, in my experience, I hate when people talk about trips. I'm just like, oh, great, dude. Hope you had fucking fun. I don't know, it just gets boring. Same thing with dreams. I don't really like to hear about them. Maybe I'm being negative. I don't know. I guess it's okay. Some of them are interesting. Some of them. Most of them aren't, though. Dude, they were like triangles and the floor was breathing. It was so sick, bro. Okay, cool, dude. Have fun. Sounds like you got a whole lot out of this experience. Sounds like you had a profound, life-changing experience looking at the floor breathing. But yeah, I had a lot of many, just world-shattering experiences, ego death, that sort of thing. And it's changed me forever, I think, in positive ways. Hopefully in positive ways. I feel like it's contributed in a couple ways to not cognitive issues, but my speech feels a little bit slurred sometimes, and I feel like I stutter every now and again, and I see it, but I can't make a direct attribution from that, the stuttering or any of that, to acid use, but it's convenient, isn't it? So I'll say that that's what happened. But I would not take back any of those experiences for anything in life, for any changes. I'm so happy to have gone through what I went through. I learned a whole lot about life and love and loss and pain and fun, and yeah, I feel like I'm a better person after it all. I know what's out there for me, what's out there waiting, and I learned quickly, early, and I'm not gonna get myself in trouble. I'm lucky that I didn't back then, and now that I know what kind of issues I could run into, I'm not gonna let it happen to me in the future. What else? Mushrooms are fun. A little bit unpredictable in my experience. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. Just there were times where I'd take mushrooms and I'd be just extremely euphoric and want to dance around and fucking get naked and have a good time. Then there were other times where it's just a little bit gloomy and dark and thinking about bad things instead of good things. Set and setting is something hallucinogen aficionados like to purport to be very, very important in having a good trip, is who you're with, how you're feeling at the moment, and where you are, and that sort of thing. But yeah, mushrooms weren't my favorite. Acid was. I really enjoyed it. I was very much more functional on acid than I was on mushrooms. When I took mushrooms, I wasn't me anymore. I would just kind of like lose all connection to myself. I wouldn't feel like myself. I would feel like every word that I said wasn't right or was gonna like offend somebody, or I sounded stupid or something like that. So when I did mushrooms, it was normally just like in a dark room and kind of curled up with my own thoughts, which is, I think, a great way to do it. But you should always have somebody watching around you, somebody that can take care of you should you need it. LSD, I microdosed many times, many times. But I mean, one hit, I was able to go around and actually function and go to school and learn things and stay interested, and yeah, learned a lot. Not much experience with DMT, but a few profound experiences, and maybe the stomach cancer is from all the drugs. Who knows? What else do I have to say? Yeah, don't do drugs. Just don't do it. It's not good for you. Once again, just don't. If you must, be safe, be sensible, talk to people, let anybody know if you have a problem, because there are people out there that love you, and there are better ways to cope with these things. If there aren't better ways to cope with issues in life, your doctor will know that medications are a good route. But yeah. Pharmaceuticals are particularly dangerous because it's just like a little candy, and you can carry it around in your pocket and take it whenever you want, and it's generally culturally accepted, at least in America, that pharmaceuticals are just a part of everyday life. You feel bad, you take this pill for it. You feel tired, you take this pill for it. Your nose is stuffy, you take this pill for it. So naturally, when people get introduced to drugs, my back hurts, this pill doesn't do it right, but this one that contains morphine does do it right, so I'm going to start taking that one. And my doctor says it's okay, so I'm going to take as much as I can possibly fit in my body, and it can be dangerous. Yeah, just got to look out for yourself, have other people look out for you too. Love you guys, don't get addicted. It's not fun. And if you are, reach out. I'm happy to talk. Well, I mean, I can't spend time talking to everybody because I do get a lot of messages on Twitter and stuff, but I really appreciate you guys, and I love you very much, and I hope everything's going okay with you. And yeah, I'd hate to see you in any kind of pain from addiction or anything like that. But it gets better, I promise. What do I have written down here? People have asked me what my favorite and what my least favorite drugs are. So I figured I'd make a little list. I haven't written out a list, but I'll make one up right now. I'll do a combination, and then Here, let's just do a list. So top drugs, my favorite drugs that I've ever taken. Number one, LSD has given me the most fun, most enlightening experiences ever. Big fan. Number two, I have to say opioids, even though I don't recommend that anybody would use them. Just because I don't know, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fucking fun on them. It's a drug that almost everybody would get something out of. I know that there's a lot of people that they don't like smoking weed, or they don't really like alcohol. It gives them headaches or that sort of thing. I've said that a lot, that sort of thing. But there are certain aspects of drugs that people don't like. I guess it happens with opioids too. It gives people stomach upset, and there's certain people that don't enjoy it. But it's just it's almost guaranteed that if you take it, you're gonna fucking love it, and if you fucking love it, you're likely gonna get addicted to it. So I don't recommend taking it. But I would put it at number 2, with my favorites, and then number 3, I'd probably have to say amphetamines, like Adderall or Vyvanse. And when you compare amphetamines to the two substitutes out there, I don't want to call ecstasy a substitute, but it works in kind of the same way. It's a stimulant for one, and it makes you very talkative, gives you a lot of energy, makes you feel nice and lovey-dovey towards other people, but it's expensive, and it works on serotonin receptors, which is dangerous, and if you take it all of the time, you can do some serious damage to your brain. You can deplete serotonin receptors and shit. I've read things online where people give themselves clinical depression because they took so much ecstasy so frequently. But it's totally safe if you do it once every other blue moon. It's very safe, according to what I've read. And the other substitute that people take instead of amphetamines when they're looking for a boost is cocaine. And that brings me to the other side of the list, my fucking least favorite drugs. Absolute least is, well, okay, third worst in my opinion. I know some people love it, is cocaine. I don't get it. It is almost always shit garbage product. So it's almost always cut with something, baby laxative, fucking baking powder. It lasts 25 minutes, 30 minutes at the most, and that's if it's really fucking good, and then you need to take more. And it comes into the country in people's assholes and inside of their bodies and in dead bodies wrapped up and shipped in horrible conditions. And a lot of people die from its production, and a lot of people are hurt, and just everything about it is, it's a terrible situation. And on top of all of it, it makes you feel good, but it barely lasts. So that goes number 3, maybe number 2, I don't know, for worst drugs. Not a fan. Also, considering that there's a perfect substitute for it in amphetamines. Amphetamines are super clean because they're produced in laboratories and they're produced by pharmaceutical companies. They last way longer. And they're much cheaper because they're produced legally. They don't have to go through the black market to get into your belly or up your nose or whatever. So, methamphetamine does because it's illegal. Actually, no, it's a Schedule 2. You can get it prescribed for obesity, I'm pretty sure. What a world, eh? You can just be a really super fat fuck and you can get meth for it. Legal meth. But, yeah. Just compared to cocaine, amphetamines blow it out of the fucking water. And that lands at a spot in my well-revered list at number 3. Number 2, I don't know. I would probably say, no, I didn't prepare nearly enough for this. I'm just gonna fucking say cocaine for all 3 of them. No, lean is definitely in there, in that list because it's dangerous and it doesn't fucking do anything. So what's the point? I equate it with cigarettes. Cigarettes are the most bullshit little buzz that barely lasts, but it's super addictive and it's gonna kill you eventually. Lean is kind of in the same boat. because you're mixing two depressants together. You're mixing antihistamines, which are central nervous system depressants, along with codeine, which is another central nervous system depressant, and you're going to slow down your heart rate, and if you drink enough of it, you're going to fucking kill yourself. So, for barely a high that's worth having. But thanks to all the cool rappers out there, thanks to the culture of excess in America and abroad, a lot of people fucking die from it, and it's a shame. Okay, I remember what I was gonna say. Number one, my least favorite drug, and I know this is different for a lot of people, I don't mean to generalize, I fucking hate benzodiazepines nowadays. Xanax and Valium, they have huge medicinal properties, hugely important medicinal properties for so many people. They'll mellow you out if you really need it. They're amazing for people that need quick relief with psychological disorders like bipolar disorder and schizophrenia and things like that. It's massively important for certain disorders, panic disorder. But for me, a person who doesn't deal with those issues anymore, I mean, I get anxiety like anybody else, but it's not a clinical problem. It's not a serious issue. It doesn't impede my life whatsoever. It not only doesn't give me any kind of dopamine release, it takes away from how good I'm feeling in the day. If I'm anxious or something, but I'm still feeling all right, I'm still feeling good, if I take that drug, I just feel like an absolute slug. Like, I feel depressed. It makes me feel depressed. Just like nothing matters, and fuck it, why would I get out of bed? Who cares? Nothing matters at all. And, yeah, I know it's different for everybody. I know some people hold it in high regard, and I'm right along with people saying that Xanax being used recreationally should be left in fucking 2017 where it belongs, because it's a shame that it gets misused so often by people who don't need it, and that hurts people that actually do need it. There's a lot of people out there that need this drug, and because Lil dipshit fucking Pump runs around screaming about Xanax, and it makes it harder to get for people who actually need it. That's a shame. Same goes for opioids. Like people like me, even though I didn't cause any issues for anybody, but I don't know, that's a different situation. I'm not going to compare the two. But people that have genuine pain have a much harder time, especially nowadays, getting pain medications that they need, because there's so many people addicted to it. And I feel like that's a more sad addiction. Yeah, I shouldn't generalize and like shame people for being addicted to things like Xanax. I know a lot of people use it to cope and use it recreationally and everything, but try and fucking stop. It's not worth it. If you have an issue, if you're self-medicating, go to a doctor. It's so easy to get. I was prescribed it for a long while. I just went to my doctor and said, I need it. I get all sweaty and I'm scared all the time. Please help. And they go, how about an SSRI? How about like Celexa or Prozac or something? I go, no, I don't want that, because I read online that it'll hurt my boners and I won't be able to get a boner anymore. And then they'll go, oh, okay, so how about 3 million pills of Xanax a month? And I go, that's great. And then I had a bunch of Xanax and Valium, enough to kill whole families of people that I could have taken, that was supposed to be taken by me in one day. But and then I would sell that. So I contributed to that issue, I guess. But I don't know where I'm going with this. Drugs are bad. They're fucking bad for the most part. Not all. I don't mean to generalize. Hallucinogens can be very, very helpful for a lot of people, and I'm glad that there's a lot of research going into it. Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, MAPS, does a lot of amazing work. If anybody's interested, they're doing, I think they're in like stage 3 of clinical trials for treating PTSD in PTSD patients with MDMA psychotherapy, ecstasy. And if their statistics are entirely true, which I trust them to be, they're on the up and up. I've donated to them before. The statistics are something like after 3 sessions, 80% of PTSD patients no longer qualified for treatment, for PTSD treatment, after this MDMA psychotherapy, which is essentially a cure. They cured the disorder with an 80% success rate. So I'm a big proponent of that. I'm a big proponent of people using hallucinogens such as mushrooms for anxiety that comes with life-threatening ailments. Like in cancer patients, it's being used a lot for people that have anxiety because they know that the end of their life is coming very soon and they don't know how to cope with it. A lot of people have gotten a lot of benefit from using mushrooms in clinical settings, of course, or outside. Just coming to terms with this eventual fate that is coming for them, and it's coming for all of us. And I don't know exactly how the chemistry works of it all, but I know that it's helped a lot of people, so I don't want to lump all of these drugs into the same umbrella term of drugs. The word drug has a very negative connotation attached to it, and it's unfair for drugs like LSD and mushrooms that are essentially harmless to be put in the same category as drugs like heroin and things that have caused me a lot of problems. I swear, hallucinogens had a lot to do with digging me or pulling me out of a hole that I dug for myself, and I'm very grateful. And to you guys too. You guys have always been around and you're very nice. I'm sorry I abandoned you for a while. I was going through some shit, as you now know. My favorite drug combination of all time. LSD and painkillers. Just fantastic. No anxiety, nothing. Don't recommend it though. Just stay away from opioids. They're bad for you. They'll kill you. They'll fucking kill you. Kill your motivation too. Kill your boners, kill your sex drive, kill your creative motivation, kill your body, kill your brain. So don't do them. That's about all I have to say. I don't want to drag this on for too long, but thanks for listening, guys. I love you so much. If you have any other subjects like this you'd like me to just rant about, I know this one I had a particular abundance of knowledge on, but if you have anything else you want me to talk about, please feel free to comment it. I really enjoyed this. I know I haven't shared this story before, but like I said earlier in the podcast, I do plan on making some kind of video where I restate all of this in a more eloquent and prepared manner, like sort of like in a Draw My Lifestyle where it's rehearsed and whatnot. There's no burps cutting in between everything, but that's it for this podcast. Love you guys very much. Thanks for tuning in. You're the shit. Don't do drugs. It's bad for you. They'll fucking kill you. They'll hurt you. And you're better off without them, unless you need them for medication, for certain ailments that are already having negative effects on your life. Then you might want to take them. But that's it. Love you guys. I hope I didn't forget anything, and I'll talk to you next time, hopefully very soon. I'll try my best to be back as soon as possible. Sorry, this is kind of serious in tone, but I'll probably have Paul back for the next thing. We'll play some video games or something. We'll shoot the shit, and it'll be a lot of fun. See you guys next time. Love ya. Wait, no, I got one more thing to say. Stay safe, stay smart, stay sober. Love you guys. Bye.